been a while since we've been out here. Actually, the summer before Swamiji came was cold, and so we couldn't do it here. It was always cold and windy, and then Swamiji came, and so now we had a nice heat wave. We could have done it, but now let's see how many weeks we can do it outside again. Yeah, you can see that already the temperature is changing and the. Mangalam Gurudevaya Devye Matriksha Mangalam Mangalam Bhakta Brindevyo Sarvalokaya Mangalam Om Stapakaya Cha Dharmasya Sarva Dharma Sarupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishnaya Mangalam Om Sarashiva Samarambam Shankarachara Madhyamam Ashmarachara Prayantam Vande Gurum Paramparam Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Revo Param Brahman Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Guruvyo Namaha Ganeshaya Sharada Guruvyo Namaha. So picking up after, I think we did one this summer. Was Swamiji on tour one day that we did? I think so. So after Swamiji's wonderful, really inspiring series this year on the old Swami Chaitanya Maharaj, and I think he's in, where is he? Not in Berkeley. Sacramento. I think he's in Sacramento today. So, and I think next week he's still in town, but next week he's in Berkeley. So that's why he stopped his satsangs. This is on. Okay. So we were talking about the section we're on we've been talking about the Kali Puja, kind of a bird's eye view on Kali Puja, which we're foolishly thinking we do in 2 weeks, and it's been I think 14 sessions so far, 11, 13, or how much? You told me earlier, 12. I think 12 or 13. We'll call today number 13. We're continuing. So we've gone through actually all we've done so far is preparation. Purification, preparation, establishing the seed, purifying the articles, sanctification, invoking protecting directions, internal purity, mental purity, purity of mantra, purity of the deity, purification of the deities, all those steps. And then last time, I can't say last week, but last meeting we started with the Devata Puja, and we did was Guru Puja. We started with Guru, right? And we mentioned that in some traditions they worship Ganesh first, other tradition Ganesh then Guru. We do Guru and Ganesh, right? But it's I can't say arbitrary; it's by tradition. So we do first a Guru Puja, and one of the reasons we do Guru Puja, and then the next section is the next cluster of deities that are worshipped. It's called the Pancāyatana, the 5 deities, and they always start with Ganesha. Ganeshadi, actually there's a mantra Ganesh, a simple way, in the small puja book, I think. Let's see. It's been a while since we looked at the small puja book. That's the simple Kali Puja book. So it is, first there is worship of Guru, Etaganda Pushpe, which is fragrant flower, Om Ain Shri Guru Vedam, and then a Pranam mantra, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, and then Etaganda Pushpe Om Gam Ganeshaya Namaha. You worship with this flower, you worship Ganesha, and then his Pranam mantra. And that's a very simple. And then after that, then it becomes Ganeshari Panchadevatabhyo Namaha. We worship the 5 deities beginning with Ganesha. And in the simple puja, then that's actually, that could be sufficient. Ganeshadi Pancāyatana Pūjā, we worship Ganesha and the 5 deities, or the 5 deities beginning with Ganesha, which we mentioned just now. And then Aditya Navagrahe Bhyo Namaha, Indra Dikpale Bhyo Namaha, all these different groups of important deities that are always worshipped during puja. But the first is these 5, the Panchadevata. And in a more elaborate puja here at Kali daily at Kali Mandir, they're worshipped separately. It can be done just as a flower with each of the 5, which is, mention the 5 is, maybe you know by heart, you know the heart, you know by heart, you know the 5 by heart, the Panchadevatas.
It's Ganesh, and then
Shiva, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we don't think of them as a cluster. We do the puja every day. Ganesh, Shiva, Narayan, Surya, the sun, and Devi, and Durga, right? And sometimes the order is a little different. The order we're doing is a little different. In the Ramakrishna Mission tradition, the order of the 5 is a little different. We do it a little more kind of pan-Indian form. The organization of the order of the deities. So Ganesha, we do Ganesha, Surya, the sun. Narayan, Lord Vishnu, Shiva, Lord Shiva, and Devi. And in our puja, the Devi puja we do is, the form of Devi is called Jaya Durga. Is Durga as the giver of victory. Sorry, if there's not enough fire, it becomes very smoky. I want to watch a little bit. Too bad. And so in the daily puja here and on Amavash and the big puja, then we do actually either the Dhyan mantra, the traditional form of the puja. Of each puja, we do a Dhyan mantra, which describes a visualization form of the deity, holding a flower in Kurma Mudra. We've seen, I think we mentioned that during our Guru Puja talk. Then we do that constitutes like an internal puja. Then the flower is offered, feeling that the consciousness of the deity within is now externally in the image, and then we do worship with 5 items, which is perfume, flower, incense, light, and food. It's called Panchupacha, the 5-item worship. In the simple puja, and then the pranam mantra, the salutation mantra. So we do this each of those deities: Ganesha, Surya, Narayan, Shiva, and Durga, Devi. There's a reason. The simple reason you can say we do it is that the ancient puja books say to do it, right? I noticed in the Devi Gita, there's an example. One came to my memory today. In the Devi Gita, there's a section on Manasa Devi, the snake goddess, or the goddess of the snakes, right? We worship her under the tree. And it mentions how she's worshipped, right? And some instructions given to some sage who wanted to get her vision to do her puja. And so first he said, first establish this, just like we do, like in all the descriptions of our pujas there. First purify the area, establish your seat, invoke the gurus and protective deities of the directions, right? And then it says, after honoring, worship Ganesha, Surya, Narayan, Shiva, and Durga. And then invoke Manasa Devi. Right? So, Manasa Devi. This puja is to Manasa Devi, right? So Manasa Devi, of course, we consider her very important, but she's a minor deity in the Hindu pantheon, right? But even for her worship, before whatever worship you're supposed to be doing, whatever deity, whatever the puja we're doing, we start always. The Devi Bhagavatam mentions you first do the Panchadevata Puja. Now that could, a traditional way of understanding that is that this is the very ancient, the Devi Bhagavatam is supposed to be a very ancient text written by Vedavyasa, right? 5,000 years, 6,000 years ago, something like, 4,000 years ago, like that, right? Or we could also use that evidence to date the text a little later, because there's a period of time when this way of worshiping the 5 deities together developed, right? And it's really, once again, with dating things in Hinduism, it's always a little complicated, right? You have to assume a lot. You have to assume certain dates and assume that everything follows. If it's like if Nirvana is mentioned in the Gita, it has to be post-Buddhist. That people try to figure things out that way, but that's assuming that Nirvana is a Buddhist term, not an ancient Hindu term. So a lot of these things it's not so clear, but generally we think of this Panchadevata Puja. sorry, probably first appears maybe 300 BC. So that's, well, it's not 5,000 years ago, right? But not yesterday either, right? It developed. And it was given in the popular form. It's a lot of times if you were to like Google it or something, it's it was founded. This puja was made popular, or they say founded by Shankaracharya, right? So or made popular by, I think made popular by Shankaracharya is probably, there's evidence of it before that. If we want to get historically evidence of the worship of these 5 deities, and it's also associated with one particular philosophical religious tradition, the Smarta tradition, the Sampradaya. Smart, you've heard this term, Smarta? I'm not sure if it. We always assume that the word smart comes from it, and it might. we haven't. Maybe I learned it from you, but that doesn't mean that you learned it from a scholarly source. But right, but it has it could be. I don't. Yes, it should be. It means smart, and the Smarta tradition goes back. Before the Gupta period, it goes way back. Also around this time, 300 BC, and Shankaracharya's tradition is considered Smarta. Actually, like today, we're celebrating Balaram Jayanti, right? So today is Appearance Day of Lord Balaram. Tomorrow, we're celebrating Janmashtami, right? But if you look at the Hare Krishnas, they're celebrating Janmashtami on Monday, not tomorrow, right? And so if you trying to go online, try to look at different calendars or figure, then you realize, there's Smarta Janmashtami and Vaishnava Janmashtami, 2 different lineages. Figure out the dates differently, right? Also, if you look at our calendar, when is Ekadasi? Like Ekadasi may be on Tuesday, right? But some calendars will say Ekadasi is on Wednesday or Thursday even, right? So obviously the 11th day is 11th day, but there are certain rules that different traditions use differently, right? So so Shankaracharya's tradition is Smarta tradition. Whether or not, it's hard to say. It can be said. I won't say it because I'm not convinced. The evidence is absolute in either way. That Shankaracharya came out of the Smarta tradition, or the Smarta tradition was founded by Shankara. That it's not, because even Shankara's date you can put 500 years this way or that way. It's not that easy to fix, right? But the same tradition. So the idea that the nowadays we don't think we have the main sects in India, not philosophical systems, but the deity sects. You have the worshippers of, you have Vaishnavas, you have Shaivites, and Shaktas. These are the 3 primary. But in the ancient world, go back a couple thousand years, even 1,000 years ago, there were 5 main sects, deity sects. Right, and these were the Ganapatyas, the worshippers of Ganesha or Ganapati, the Sauryas, the worshipper of the sun, right? Then Vaishnavas, Shaivites, and Shaktas, right? And by saying they're sectarian, we use the word in 2 ways. You can use it technically as a sect, as a group of people who have a shared deity, a shared practice, a shared scriptural identity, like that. And sectarian also means we're right, you're wrong. Like we use it in a pejorative sense. So by saying there's 5 primary sampradayas, I mean it in both ways. It's both 5 distinct groups. There are more, of course, but these are the 5 powerful ones, right? Had the support of kings and scriptures and like that. But they were also fighting. They were competing. Can't say, maybe if competing is a better word. It's not like they had wars or persecution, but they were competing for importance, right? Jai Ma Anandji. So that we haven't been up by the fire in a long time. Yeah. So and so this is a problem. Of course, it's an ancient problem and it's a modern problem. We look at the religious landscape. That seems to be a major problem. Especially in the face of blooming globalization. I mean, there's no longer any other, right? And so therefore the idea is like we have our own deity and ethnic group and self-identity group, that we have the truth and other people's, they definitely don't have the highest truth. If they have truth, they don't have the highest truth. It's weird to even say that, right? But I think maybe 100 years ago it wasn't as weird to say it. And 1,000 years ago, it would have been completely natural to say it. And 2,000 years ago, it would have been almost I mean, we have shards of pottery, and if, like we get going back, and from this we can clearly tell the religious concept of the ancient world. It may be unnecessary to say it. Maybe a religion comes from this sense of one of the things that religion has done or does is sense of identity and all this type of thing. But it's weird to say that now, right? But the Smarta tradition comes from a time where it's been weird to say that for a long time, right? To say that this my idea of God or my God that I'm worshiping is definitely the highest, maybe the only, right? And definitely best, right? So and so the argument like that. So in the Smarta tradition and the Advaita Vedanta of Shankara fits perfectly into those. They have this idea of an absolute, a transcendent absolute that's beyond even. Can't even say, we would say now the human conceptualizations as deities with names and forms and leelas and stories and attributes, right? It's not beyond our, of course, God is beyond the human conceptions, but it's beyond any concept. It's even beyond its own conceptions, right? So it's not not necessarily. We would say now in the modern way of thinking that humans create ideas of God, right? The ancient world may not have said that. Sri Ramakrishna didn't say it like that. He says God reveals himself in different ways. Not that we came up with something and solidify it. Maybe that's the same act. I don't know. Psychologically, it may be the same act, right? But the one reality reveals itself either consciously or people experience the one reality in different ways, or the one God, the one reality reveals itself in different ways, right? And then you have that famous verse in the Rig Veda. Everybody likes to quote. I like to quote. That truth is one, sages, what is it? Out loud? Okay. Ekam vit vipra bahuda. So although truth is one, ekam vipra, the sages describe it bahuda in many different ways, right? And that verse comes in a particular section where it's describing, like, I think, what are the different deities? Remember the deities? It's like there's Varuna. It describes like a section of pantheon of the ancient world's pantheon, right? And it's glorifying. I forgive me. I don't exactly remember. It's glorifying one of them, but it's glorifying one as all these are different realizations, manifestations, expressions, readings we may use of that one. The one truth is described as different ways, right? So that's an extraordinary idea, and 2,000 years later, it's just as extraordinary, the idea, right? But what they probably didn't mean is that, well, we could say that, the original verse, who knows what it meant, right? But with the Smarta tradition, it was understood that the truth, which transcends localized expression, right? The different expressions, the different main sects of Hinduism, right? Orthodox sects of Hinduism, specifically the Vaishnavas, the Shaktas, the Ganapatyas, the Sauryas, and the Shaivites, right? Each one of them is describing one truth, right? There's a transcendent truth, and then there's a truth that transcendent reality expressing itself or realization of, right? Yeah. And so what Shankaracharya popularized is they call it Pancāyatana Pūjā. We call it, we say Pancādevata Pūjā, the 5 deities, or Pancāyatana Pūjā. So Pancha means 5, these 5 deities, and Ayatana means containing. So this puja that contains or is made up of 5. So it's the one type of the worship of the one deity that's contained as 5, right? And the way it was done, and the way it's still done, even in Kali Mandir we do it. If you look at the shrine, you have to know what you're looking for. But there we have, next to the water pot, there's a little throne, and on that throne there are 5 stones. Right, that's the Pancāyatana Asan, right, or mandala, right. And what you do, you have stone form. You can have statues or yantras or of these things, but often they're done in this what we call an iconographic image. Means an image that's like a Shiva lingam. It's not like Shiva holding a trishul, a Shiva lingam. So each of those deities is worshipped as a stone from a different river, from a different part of India. Right, so it's also, maybe some scholars have contemplated that it may have been not only to bring the 5 sects together as one, revealing one God, right, but also bringing all India together, because these are stones from different rivers and all of the length and breadth of India, right? So in order to do this puja, you have to have stones from all these places, right, representing. And so, of course, the one that you love, the one that you're most fond of, is the one you put in the center. That makes sense, right? In a mandala. And you have one in the center, and then you have the other four on the four corners. And according to which one you worship in the center is where you put the other ones. There's a structure for it. And like, for instance, so we're Shaktas. So at the temple, we have, in the center, we have a stone. It's actually a meteorite, right? And the stone that's used is a kind of a shiny meteorite type of stone. It's an extraterrestrial stone, comes from we got ours. Actually, we've gotten small pieces in Chennai, legitimate, but then we replaced it when I was at Berkeley on Telegraph Avenue in Berkeley, and I found one of the little shops on the street, on the table on the street, like, that's beautiful, and even shaped like a Shiva lingam, so like an egg, like a Brahmas. So that's what we're worshiping right now. And so if Devi's in the center, then, like, if Devi's, I'm looking at, imagine, Devi's in the center, Devi would be here. Let's see how, Devi, then it could be, do I have this right? I may have read it. Actually, we've done it, ours is correct. What do? We have Vishnu, Shiva, Surya, and Ganesha, and in the center Devi. If you put Shalagram in the center, or Vishnu in the center, it becomes Devi, Ganesha, Surya, Shiva. Put Surya in the center, it becomes Shiva, Ganesha, Vishnu, Devi, like that. So it's according to the tradition, right? So that's a tradition. There may be a reason for, I don't know those reasons. We found those in text, and if you go to a temple that has them, it's like that. But it's quite interesting because it doesn't matter which one's in the center, right? That's actually very, very, that's a big thing to state. In a world of competing sects, right, with text that each one's showing, well, we know Vishnu is supreme, right, and he's not the same. There may be other deities, but he's definitely not the same, right? He's definitely better, right? He's the controller. He's their source. They worship him. Or you could say, definitely Shiva is definitely he's Devangidev Mahadev. We saw there's a whole 98-hour television series describing him, where Vishnu and Brahma are constantly saying, "You're the god of gods," right? So it's very clear that Shiva is the god of gods. But of course, all that is sectarian propaganda. We all know the truth as Kali worshippers. That Devi, not just Devi, Kali, Madhakshinishwari Kali of Laguna Beach, is the supreme deity who manifests all gods and goddesses, right? Right. And they're all she manifests them. They also worship her, right? And point the way to, so you could see that. So that's a normal thing in devotional life, in sectarian and devotional life, to think like that. But this is a very radical thing. It's still allowing everybody to have their favorite deity, right? So the Shaivites put Shiva in the center, the Shaktas put Shakti in the center, the Vaishnavas put Vishnu in the center. But still but also see it as 5 faces, 5 manifestations of Brahman, right? Of a transcendent absolute, right? So it's actually very I can't say revolution because it's now 2000. The revolution happened 2,000 years ago, right? Right. But the revolution is still happening, right? That's the thing. Is Sri Ramakrishna took this to another extreme, right? Because we could say that in Hinduism, Brahman reveals itself according to this particular lineage, right? Sampradaya, as manifesting these 5 deities, and according to the one in the center, they call the Ishtadevata. The one you choose is the one in the center. We use this term. That's the source of this term. Ishtadevata originally comes from this Pancāyatana tradition, right? The one the Ishta, the Devata in the center is the one we hold. The center is Ishta. There's a verse. Shankaracharya has a verse. I think it may be attached to the Annapurna Stotram, perhaps, but it says that actually Shiva is my father, and Parvati is my mother, and all Shiva's devotees are my family. That's the natural mood of a Shiva devotee, right? But you could also say Vishnu is my father, Lakshmi is my mother, all the Vaishnavas are my family, right? That's a very natural thing to say, right? And we say that. Shankaracharya himself said that in that hymn, right? And if you look at Vaishnava literature, it says that continuously. And those letters, Jaima, please come. Right. But they didn't say, right, that the truth is one, and sages describe it differently. Like, for instance, sages would describe it as Allah, right, or Jesus, or Jehovah, right, or the Buddha nature, or Nirvana, right? So or as the Jain saints and the realizations. So it was still this in a certain sense this is a foundation of an orthodox Hinduism that developed. The Snarta tradition is a very orthodox Hindu tradition, very open-minded within sectarian Hinduism, right. And then the background, the philosophical system that developed it is Advaita Vedanta, which is extremely open-minded another way, right. The truth is about the nature of that philosophical contemplation, description of that absolute truth that manifests as these five deities, right. But the modern sages like Sri Ramakrishna, like Ramana Maharishi, like Anandamayi Ma, like Swami Shivananda, the great saints of this time, Sri Ramakrishna foremost amongst them who preached like this. When he would say that truth is one, sages call him by various names. It's not just he's called Shiva, Vishnu, Narayana, Durga, and Ganesha, right? It's like truth is like whatever. Can't say whatever, but it's universalized. It's in the global age, in the globalized age, where everybody's connected to everybody, and statements like truth is one, and he's not called this, right? It doesn't sound right. It can't possibly be right, because how do you justify it? Well, before we could justify it, because our tradition says it. Well, other traditions say something different. Or before we justify it is my guru says it. Well, my guru says something different. Or we'd say my scripture says it. But now we have access to every scripture. What makes your scripture so special? Well, it's in the Vedas. Well, it's not in the Bible. Yeah, but the Bible is not authentic. How do you say that? Because the Vedas are authentic. How do you know the Vedas are authentic? The Vedas say they're authentic. The Bible says it's authentic. Once you accept it, you can no longer, the arguments that were so natural for a long time, for almost ever, right? Now they don't hold up anymore, right? So they had to be universalized. And I think Sri Ramakrishna very much successfully. Not maybe he didn't sit there. I need to universalize so that Hindu Dharma can survive the modern age. I don't know if he thought that, or maybe the Divine Mother herself, which is actually Sri Ramakrishna did say. The Divine Mother herself showed me this truth, right? This is from his own self and the Divine Mother Kali's message for this age, right? Revelation to this age is the truth of all religions, right? So I'm going beyond the scope of the Pancāyatana Pūjā, right? But it's I think this idea of the five competing sects being worshipped as five faces of the same reality, right? It's one of the things that when people naturally say, "Oh, Hindu is very, very open," or Hinduism very accepting, or Hinduism is pluralistic, right? This is what they mean. This is where it comes from, right? Because in other sense, because they have there's many polytheistic religions that have many deities or traditions. That doesn't make them pluralistic. Polytheistic is not pluralistic. Pluralistic means many approaches, So the thing that makes Hinduism distinctly pluralistic, I think the roots of it maybe are deeper in the realizations of the Upanishadic sages, perhaps, right? But definitely, with this worship of the five deities together, is very. I think it's very. When we usually think, Hinduism is open, or has different ways to truth, or the different gods or faces of God, or even that language, there's different faces of the one God. That comes from this, and so this has been in the modern age has to be universalized and extended, right, to a generosity of spirit and an intellectual honesty. If it's true in Hinduism, why can't it theoretically, potentially be true in other forms, right? So we are ritually declaring it every day in puja. You're thinking bad thoughts. That's what the smoke from. You're disagreeing. You're thinking, no, Shiva is supreme for sure. Devi's supreme. So we're in a certain sense affirming this ancient view Because the fact that we're worshiping the five deities means that our puja, although it's a tantric puja coming down its own independent lineage, right? It comes from a background of this smarta idea that truth is one, and the main conceptions the main sectarian traditions are expressions of that one truth, right? Including its own. It's a self-understanding. The Shakta tradition, the tantric tradition, has that as a background, right? It has that as a background idea, right? Because otherwise, you see, and even if you go online, if you look at, let me look how to do a Saraswati Puja, right? And what you do is it will say, if you look at download and probably maybe Marathi or something, how to do it, But it gives you a few purification things. Then it says you worship Ganesha and you worship Saraswati, right? You get Ganesha and then the deity. Whatever Ganesha is always worshipped first. There's a reason for that. There's many stories for that and like that. Concession by Lord Shiva according to the story, right? But here we don't worship Ganesha and then worship Kali. We worship Ganesha, then Surya, and then Narayana, then Shiva, then Durga, and then Kali. Actually, not just, and then we worship a lot of other deities. We worship the 10 forms of Kali, the Dashmavidya, the 10 avatars of Vishnu, the 9 manifestations of Durga, the 9 planets, we go through all the different rivers, all the different scriptures, all the different saints, all the different devotees, all the weapons of the different deities. We worship, and one thing we don't leave anybody out, right? We want to invoke everybody, but also it's also by every flower, every mantra is a recognition that one is, when we say the truth of one and it manifests in different ways and called differently. Well, here's a list. Here's an example of how many different names they have, how many different forms they have, right? And it's not just we have 1,000 names of Lalita, we have 1,000 names of Vishnu, 1,000 names of Shiva, and 1,000 names of Kali. That's very impressive, right? The fact that Shiva, just one deity, has 1,000 names, but he doesn't have 1,000 names. I know 6 Sahasranamas of Lord Shiva, right? I know of 6. I know 3. I know of 6, right? So that's, and they're not all shared names. Most of them are not shared names. Only some are shared names. So that means that Shiva has 7,000 distinct names, right? That's not, it's not that truth is one, Shiva, and he has 6,000 names in the 6 Sahasranamas, right? Is that yes, there's 1,000 Sahasranamas, right? Probably, I have a lot of them, not 1,000 of them. I have a lot of them, Like we have the Dashmahavidyas. That's impressive. Kalyada Dashmahavidya Abhyona. We worship the 9 forms of goddess Kali, beginning with Kali. Kali, Tara, Soroshi, Bhuvaneshwari, Bhairavi, Chinnamasta, Mamvati, Bagala, Matangi, and Kamala. Right? I'm very impressed that I've remembered those. Those are important to us. Right? And they're meant to impress easily an audience. But so that's what we're just saying. But each one of them has 1,000. We have a Sahasranama for each name. We have 100 name hymn for each of those 10. We have 1,000 names of each of those 10. And in the Kali Sahasranama, there is a name for Patangita Devi. Right? This is one particular unique, fierce form of Kali. Right? Seen as one of her names, one of her forms, a distinct goddess named Patangita Devi. There's also Patangita Sahasranama. Right? Right? In the Patangita Sahasranama, there may be a name of a deity that has 1,000 named him, right? So really, by saying 1,000, Sahasra, when we say Ananta, the snake of Lord Shiva that Vishnu lays on, he says he has 1,000 hoods, but one of his names is Ananta. To say 1,000 means unlimited, right? It's not exactly 1,000. We don't have 1,000 petal lotus on top of the head. The top of the head is considered a universal consciousness. That means it's infinite, ever expanding, unending, inconceivable. 1,000 is conceivable, but it's a big number. Yeah, right. We say, it's like infinite, like the sky. The sky is not infinite. That's not saying. But you know what we mean by the sky is a symbol of infinite. So 1,000 is a symbol of a lot. Right, Bahuda. Right, many. So the fact that we're worshiping these 5 I think is very important. Not only is it, this comes from this is obviously a Smarta Shankarite tradition like that, but with a Vedantic background it's saying that, but I think it's saying a lot, right? Even if this is a Kali Puja, right? The puja is for Kali, right? But within it, these other devatas of worship, and the mood is that like I said, there's one reality, and we worship these different forms. Its manifestations, right? Another thing is that these different forms, that one has become these different forms to do different functions. As Ganesha, he opens the way. As Surya, he organizes time and karmas and the planets, right, and the seasons, right. As Narayana, he sustains everything, right. He sustains, he's Sattva-guna, he sustains, right, and incarnates in order to give the dharmas of the age and to purify the age, right. As Shiva, he transforms, he destroys everything at the end of time. As Devi, he's a Shakti. It's the Shakti of everything that can manifest, all manifestation. So it's recognizing the one reality that has many names, but it's the one reality that does different things, right? It's not just that we have different names for the one reality. That reality is Ganesha. That one reality does remove obstacles. That one reality does sustain the universe. That one reality does create the universe, right? So we're by the names of the deities that we worship is the name of the one, not just names that we arbitrarily assign to the deity. These are, the names are given according to the deity's function, right? So the one reality manifests in different ways. In the ancient world and up to the modern time, we have names for that. We can, and once you name something, you can interact with it, right? You know, so like there's a guru tattva, a guru principle, an illuminating principle, right? But we also have a guru, right? So the guru becomes an embodiment of that. So now we have a face, a personality that we can exchange with a very subtle energy. Some use this language that the gods and the names of the goddesses, these are the personalities of nature, the personalities of reality itself, you know, and by which we can interact. We can honor them, interact with them, invoke them. So it's not just, oh, you're the one reality known as Ganesha, Surya, Narayana, Shiva, and Durga, and so we worship you. No, you're invoking Ganesha. We're invoking Surya. It's not just a name for the one reality. We're invoking a distinct Shakti, a distinct deity, but we don't lose the fact that distinct deity is, I keep saying, a manifestation of the one reality, like this. But also that means that behind each deity, Brahman is meant, right? Swami Omananda, our sannyas guru, he says, he was one satsang we had at Allahabad. He says, we go Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Sri Durgaye Namaha, Om Sri Krishnaya Namaha, Om Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, right? Each of these names, we do Om and the name of the deity, right? So he says, actually, in we always put somebody's last name at the end, right? In ancient times, the last name would be in the beginning. Even South India, it's often the last name is done in the beginning, right? Like Ekanath Ishwaran. Ishwaran is his name. Eknath is his surname, right? That's an example, right? So Om is the last name of all these deities, right? Right? They're all the and he says actually it's Om we're worshiping, the one indicated by Om, that's Satchitananda, infinite Brahman, inconceivable, infinite, absolute existence, constant of bliss. When we say Om Sri Krishnaya Namaha, we worship that Om in, of course, with the name and form that we love of Krishna, but also as Krishna. Krishna, I mean, he that Om incarnated as Krishna and it did something. Tata Gita, killed Kamsa, and like that. All the things that he stole the clothes of the gopis, all the things that Krishna did, you know. But we recognize that Krishna is not. Had to be careful. We don't be disrespectful. We're not. The problem with language. It's not like he's not just Krishna. He's also the infinite. No, Krishna. We see a lila, a form, a name, some idea. But we only see the tip of the iceberg. He's infinite, right? Krishna tu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is directly the original Godhead himself. That's what the Bhagavatam says. Now that's a Vaishnava text, and so it says Krishna tu Bhagavan Swayam, right? We could, if I were to write maybe we should write well, I guess there is a Devi Bhagavatam. We don't need to rewrite. There was a rewrite the rewritten Devi Bhagavatam. We say Kali tu Bhagavati Swayam or something like that. But she's the supreme goddess, the source of everything, right? It's like the deity we worship isn't. I can't say not just the deity, because the deity, but it's the supreme. Each one of these we're worshiping specifically, with remembering that it's the supreme. That's that's the point I'm roundabout verbosely trying to make, right? It's interesting, in South India, where another deity is extremely popular, just as popular as Vishnu, Surya, Narayan. Muruga. Muruga is just as popular or more popular, right? And therefore he's been added. So in some traditions in South India, along with the shala, I forgot to mention the different stones that are used, right? For Vishnu, it's shalagram from the Kali Gandaki River in Nepal. For Shiva, of course, we'd imagine, is the Narmadeshwara lingam, these stones from Narmada. For Ganesha, it's a red stone that comes from the Sone River, right? So it's called a Sone lingam, right? Then for maybe I should put it down. What's that? For sun, we usually use crystal. That's the most common thing. But it's a crystal from a particular mine in South India. It's supposed to be that from that place. We have a crystal sun, like we worship. Actually, a little face, like little, very nice. But actually, crystal is one that is worship. And then for Shiva, for Devi is a stone. I told you it's meteorite type of stone, right? Forgot what I was mentioning. Why I was mentioning that. Oh, so then they add for Muruga, for Skanda, they add a small veil. The symbol, his weapon, that spear, the single point spear, that they add that as part of it. And there's another thing, and also, you really think, what are these 5 sects? Actually, at one time, right, now we like, the big 3 main sects are Vaishnavism, Shaivism, and Shaktism, right? But before, the Ganapatyas and the Sauryas were just as important, they're more important. They had their own texts. There's Ganesha Upanishads, I guess, Puranas, texts that describe on Ganesh some years ago on one of these podcasts you can get. There's I think the glories of Ganesh, a talk we gave on different stories of Ganesh, and some of them are taken from the Ganesh from the text that Ganesh is not the son of Shiva, right? Ganesha, one of the things where even Ganesh is so fat is because within him he has Shiva. Right, he's the source of Shiva. He gives birth to Shiva, Brahma, and Vishnu. He's not the son of anybody. He's their source. Shiva's his son. Ganesh manifests everything, right? So when when you see the dancing Ganesh, when the absolute non-dual Brahman, that first pulse, the first vibration within absolute infinite consciousness, that is Ganesha, right? That first sound is Ganesha. The dancing Ganesha comes, and from him, then he creates Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, and they go, okay, you have to create, sustain, and destroy. Right, I'm your source. I'm the supreme. He's Brahman. There's a hymn by Shankaracharya, the Ganesh Panchakam. It describes each one. Tam Namami. No, I think it's in the. We chant this mantra, but I'm forgetting. I haven't done it in a while. It describes him that you are. Each line ends up with "O Ganesha, the supreme Brahman." Right, Ganesh is Brahman, and that Brahman, who manifests as the supreme, who manifests as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, that's Ganesha. Right, so we don't think that way anymore. Ganesha has been domesticated in many ways. He's been made a dependent son. There's stories, beautiful stories, meaningful stories, but his original worship, at the height, I can't say his original worship is much more mysterious, and to the Vinayaks and all that, Ganas and things like that. Another category of deities we won't mention now. It's a different topic. But at the height of the Ganesh of the Ganapatyas, he's the supreme who manifests all the other gods. They're all doing his service. They're serving him, right? But they're gone. They lost in the competition of sects. They lost, right? But they've been absorbed into every other sect, right? Everyone worships Ganesha.
You think he was envisioned as an elephant back then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there is a group of Ganesh of elephant-headed deities. That was also there's whole story, but so Vaishnavas are worshiping not as much, but Vaishnavas worship Ganesha, Shaivas worship Ganesha, Shaktas worship Ganesha, right? But Vedantas, dualists worship Ganesha, non-dualists worship Ganesha. He's the most popular deity, right? But he's no longer supreme, but he's still everywhere, right? And so with Suryas, the Sauryas, Shankaracharya, I quoted this last time also, that the Shankaracharya is in a emotional state, right? He says, these gods and goddesses, where are they? Who's seen Shiva? Go to Kailash, there's no Shiva, right? Where is this Shiva? You go, where is Vaikuntha? These are made up ideas like this. We believe them. They're revealed because of Vedic authority. Vedic authority is accepted because there's reasons why we accept it, but we don't have any experience of them. We hope to have some experience of them, maybe when we die, right? People who claim to have such experiences, maybe they're real or maybe they're crazy or they're lying. Somebody claims, oh, I saw Shiva, right? He told me to tell you this, right? Either the person's an illumined saint, right? He's lying, or he's crazy. Either three, and there's no way to test a really good test. I mean, there's tests, but not really. We can conclude that he's crazy and turns out he's a saint, or we can conclude he's a saint, turns out he's crazy or lying. So there's no test are conclusive, right? So Shankaracharya at one point, forgive me, I don't remember the thing, the Swami Raghavananda, we know a very wonderful sannyasi who's very much in this Advaita Bhav and against all these foolish gods and goddesses. That's his mood. He likes that. This is his favorite verse of Shankaracharya, right? But he says, but the sun I see, right? That is this for the sun is a visible God. We're worshiping invisible gods. The sun's our visible God, right? And we worship all these gods and all these goddesses, Kali and Lakshmi and Saraswati and Tripura Sundari and all the, and get more and more fantastical, the stories and what they do, and they killed the buffalo demon and you know, with the mantra hum destroyed whole armies like that. So we believe that, we read that it has meaning, maybe it has symbolic meaning, maybe it actually happened, maybe we believe, you know, but somebody says they saw it, they're either crazy, illumined, or lying, right? There's no ultimate test, right? So he says, the earth, that I see all the time, that we see. This is the mother. This is our mother. The earth is our mother. The sun is our father. It's the seed giving, but it's the one giving, animating this earth. If you want Purusham Prakriti and Sankhya, the earth is Prakriti, and the thing that animates Prakriti is the sun, right? You don't get, it's a perfect symbol, you know, right? But you see, now, it's interesting, we almost never worship the one who created all of nature in anything natural. We make an image, a man-made image or yantra or idea or like that, and then we worship the one who created nature, never is a natural object anymore. But you just look up. I'm looking. You guys are so fallen and modern that you've turned your back on the one true God, the sun going on behind you. And look at some fool ranting and raving about Brahman or something, but the visible Brahman's right in front of you or behind you the whole time, right? Right. But it's maybe the time has passed. Who knows? Maybe that worship. But the sun's no longer God, right? But it is. Just like Ganesha is no longer God, but he is. He's the most worshipped. The sun's also worshipped. So the primary prayer of the Saudiya sect, the solar worshipping sect, right, is the Gayatri Mantra, right. But now, who chants the Gayatri Mantra? The Vaishnavas chant the Gayatri Mantra. The Shaivites chant Gayatri Mantra. The Shaktas chant Gayatri Mantra, right? Vedantists, the Advaita Vedantists chant Gayatri Mantra. The Shishtadvaita Vedantists chant Gayatri Mantra. The Tantrics chant Gayatri Mantra. The Smartas chant Gayatri Mantra. Right, so in a certain sense, he's one. He's been absorbed. So Ganesha is still being worshipped, and Surya is still being worshipped, and we still worship sun, especially in connection to the Navagrahas and planetary type of thing, right? And certain holidays, and we. So everybody, you see, people of all temperaments, all lineages, all deities that they worship. Early in the morning, they hold still the old ritual. Here, this is our cup we use here. This is the Kali Mandir Sadhu. This is our sun cup, right? Because copper is the metal for the sun. Holding it, when the sun rises on that side in the morning. I guess that makes sense that it's over there now, right? And you holding, you chant certain mantras, invoking the sun, offering water. It's a remnant. This is just a beginning. This probably wasn't the only thing that was done, right? But this is a distinctive feature of their worship: chanting of the Gayatri Mantra and the offering of water to the sun. This Argya Tarpam. For tomorrow morning, ready. How's our time? Need a piece of wood and a piece of wood. What's the time? 6 o'clock. Narayan. So, so it's nice that at least in this puja, it's not just we always try to remember that sun is at one time was just as important, maybe even more important. At one time, this fire was more important than before Vishnu. Before Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva were considered important instead of subsidiary deities or names of other deities. Fire was more important. Indra used to be important. Varuna. These are actually more elemental. Either religion changed or religion evolved or whatever happened, the next stage where now the old gods have been forgotten or put into the pantheon of now the new set of gods have come, right, as to importance, right? But at one time, Agni was extremely important, right? It's still...
Were there 5 elementals?
Oh, I forgot. I'm glad you mentioned. There's a mantra. Believe it or not, there's a text. Yeah, believe it. There is a beautiful mantra. Let's see. I scribbled it a month ago, so haven't looked at it. But so the 5 deities. There's a hymn on Pancāyatana Stotram. There's a hymn glorifying these 5 deities, right? I cannot vouch for the age of the hymn. I don't know the source. I know the hymn, but I don't know like it comes from this Purana or from Shankaracharya or something that I don't know, or it could have been written 60 years ago or something. I don't know, right? But it's very nice. It associates the 5 deities with the 5 elements. It does, like you mentioned. So it's an interesting point. It's good to remember. It's not not exactly the way you would imagine. Not the way. If I were to assign them, I would assign them maybe a little differently, but maybe they knew something also. Akasyapti po Vishnu Agnischaiva Maheshwari. Akasya tipo Vishnu. Vishnu is space, right? So that the Akasha, the space, Akasha Tattva is Vishnu. That makes it Vishnu means spread or spreading or pervading. So that makes, in a certain sense, consciousness. Often we associate Vishnu when we're assigning symbolic meaning to the deities carefully. Vishnu often, because of his name, is the infinite consciousness, awareness, consciousness of. Agni's Chaiva Maheshwari. And Agni only is Maheshwari Devi. That makes sense. She's Shakti, right? So the goddess, the great goddess Maheshwari is Agni, is only Agni, only fire. Vayu Surya, Kshitir Ishaha. Vayu means air, is Surya. So sun is air. And earth is Isha. Isha means Shiva. Okay. Jalanyasa Ganapati. And water is Ganesha. So it's interesting. That's the way that there's a mantra for everything. There's a mantra for... I think the reason I scribbled it down would be a nice thing to add at the end of our Pancāyatana Pūjā. It'd be a nice pranam mantra, remembering that we have to add that. Adding that... So anyway, this is just a little bit of background for the Pancāyatana Pūjā, right? But I think it's the Hinduism is extremely well suited for the religious pluralism, and it's really the seed of the universality of religion, the truth of religion, that even in the interfaith movement and interfaith dialogue, a lot of it can literally be traced to Swami Vivekananda, to the problems of religions. A lot of stuff can be traced to that itself, the modern thing, but it's Hindu. But ancient Hinduism, at its root, had this. I think the roots to this, even at the very beginning, and I think this is important. So, one other point in the Pancāyatana Pūjā, in the Bengali in the ritual books, we say Ganeshadi Pancāyatana Pūjā. It says. Indrari Dashtikpalebhyo Namaha. No. Shivari Panchadevatabbhyo Namaha. That's right. Because it has first, it's Guru Ganesha. That's already given. So you take Ganesh out of the thing. Now it's Shivari. Right. So now the order is a little different. Shiva, Narayana, Agni. And instead, so Agni is added, right? So because Agni is obviously important, it's also been absorbed, right? And so sometimes in certain pujas we'll also worship Agni within as part of the Devata Puja. We'll also worship Agni. So instead of Ganesha is done before all pujas, and the 5 includes Agni. I know Gita Prana made one time they changed it, that we've changed it. Originally the mantra said Shivari Pancadevata Pūjā, Pancadevatabbhyo Namaha, but Agni we make it more matching the South Indian, kind of pan-Indian tradition. So we changed it, and therefore we left Agni out. He's not in the list, right? But one day they noticed that constantly at the Vedanta Society, things were burning a lot. right? Incense would fall down and ruin an asan, and the candle would, people do something, and their cloths would light on fire, and and they realized, so they thought, I think they didn't, Agni should be worshipped. So they've rearranged, they inserted the Agni, so Agni Puja is done separately as a part of the Pancāyatana Pūjā. We don't do it, but as part of any large Maha Puja also includes a yajna, so Agni is obviously included. So that's a long, but I think it's an important background to idea to the puja. But the details are very simple. Just like Ganesh Puja, we worship there's a Dhyan mantra, the 5 items, flowers and leaves, and the 5 items, and then a Pranam mantra. So I'll just mention these mantras. For Ganesha, starts as Ganesha. I wanted to go Ganesha again because we talked about Ganesha at I think the second talk in the series about the importance of Ganesha and why Ganesha is worshipped first and like that. So I'm not going to re-litigate the argument for that, the point. So this is a beautiful Dhyan mantra for Ganesha. Om Karavam Studatenam Gajendra Vadanam Lambodhanam Sundaram. These are very classic descriptions. He is a stout, thick body, right? Tulatanum, his body is big, and there's ancient historical reasons why he's big body. In general stories, he holds every. Of course, he eats a lot of ladus. We know that, right? That's the reason. I have a stout, thick body, not because I have the universe inside of me, because I eat a lot of ladus, or chips, or whatever it is, whatever my version of it is, But so he has a whole universe within him. It's one of the reasons. But like I said, there's the ancient category of deity that predates Ganesh worship, were thick-bodied. Short, stout, thick-bodied deities, But anyways, stuck, thick body, Gajendra Vadanam, and he has the head of the king of elephants. And we've told that story. I'm not going to tell that story. I want to tell that story, but I won't tell that story. Because we have a half hour to do 5 deities now. Yeah. Yeah, well, no, not exactly. Exactly, it's true. His name, the king of elephants, maybe it's Gajendra's own head. I don't think so. But we have the king of elephants, Lambodhanam Sundaram, and he's very beautiful. And he's beautiful with his swaying head. So it's not just describing him, it's describing a very beautiful image, right? That swaying head, I'm not going to read, I'm just going to read kind of give the general idea, is swarmed by bees. Right, now we are scared of bees, but we shouldn't. Once again, we don't look at the sun. Don't ever touch the earth. We don't look at bees, and we're scared of bees. Believe it or not, in the ancient world, bees are a form of the Devi herself. Right, the Brahmari. She appears when there's when the earth becomes desolate. She appears as bees. She appears as vegetables, as nature. And we have a beautiful beehive above. We built we installed this great danger and difficulty very high at the proper height, a box for an owl to keep our rats down in the neighborhood, and bees moved in, immigrants moved in, but they're wonderful. They're very gentle bees, and they've been very good to our garden.
I mean, they're fertilizing.
No, that's right. They're great. It's great. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're great. And also there's in Laguna Niguel, there was bees that attacked and killed somebody a couple of months ago. I mean, it's there's aggressive strands of bees here. These aren't them. These are very gentle, very extremely auspicious bees. I don't think anybody been stung by this one yet? It's unusual. None of us have been. I get stung by bees all the time, and not been stung by one. We walk around barefooted in the garden full of bees, so they're good. They're good bees.
Not as bees.
No, and these are very, very, very auspicious bees, right? But it's swarming. Where is it swarming? It's they're swarmed by bees intoxicated by the fragrant rut flowing from his temples. I think in our talk on Ganesha we talked a little bit about this, that elephants have they have a gland, I'm not exactly sure, but it's near their ear, that exudes, they call it rut. It's a hormone. This is when they're in heat. It attracts female elephants, right? And so an elephant in heat or in rut is extremely auspicious, right? Because a king at his most virile, you imagine. So if an elephant is a sign of virility and strength, it's that most exaggerated masculine state. That's what he's being worshipped, that ability, right? But he's also very unpredictable. It's like, teenage boys in heat are also unpredictable and out of control. So Ganesh, elephants at that time are very, very, and they're themselves, but that's considered very auspicious. and the bees are swarm. And it's true, when an elephant's in rut, bees come. So it's an image in real life. In people, if you're around elephants, this is what happens when elephants are in rut. Bees come, right? But this is done. It's like a long list of epithets that build on each other. He has the king of elephant head at Swain, that it's swarmed by elephants that are intoxicated by the fragrant rut flowing from his temples. Those temples made beautiful, right, by the crimson blood of his enemies. Right, so that temples that are flowing, the intoxicated rut, the bees intoxicated by the rut flowing from his temples, which are made beautiful by crimson red. But so red's a very beautiful color. But why is it red? Because of the blood of his enemies. Because Ganesha, with his tusks, he's like a, you look at in like a Lord of the Rings type of thing when you see the giant elephants hitting, going through an army. It's like with his just doing this. Remember those giant elephant, those scenes with his tusks just decimating an army, like that, right? So his tusks have killed his enemies. The blood of his enemies on his temple. The temples are flowing with rut that attracts bees that are swarming and that are intoxicated. Well, like that. So this list, it's very the meter and the structure of the mantra is very beautiful like that. It's a long list like that. With a stout, thick body, the head of the king of elephants, and a pot belly, who is beautiful with swaying head, swarmed by bees, intoxicated by the fragrant rut flowing from his temples, made beautiful by the crimson blood of his enemies, gashed by the blows of his tusks. That's very nice. We worship that son of the mountain born, right? So it's like we worship the son of the one who's born of the mountain, right? And it says, Vande Shaila Sutta Sutam. The one who is we worship the one who is born from the one born from the mountain. So it's very we don't write poetry quite that way anymore, but this is the way it's stacked. It's a very beautiful mantra. So the mountain born means Parvati, right? He's born. He comes from the body of Parvati. Parvati comes from the body of the Himalayas, right? And so in our last talk on Ganesha, we talked about how Ganesha itself is a symbol. He comes from the dirt of the body of Parvati, right? And the oil and dirt and turmeric, which is a symbol of the earth, the color of the earth. And Parvati herself is a symbol of the mount. Here it says Shaila means the stone, the mountain, or the earth element. Getting smoky again. So that's also beautiful. Yet you can't just say the son of Parvati. The child of the one who is the child of the mountain. Very beautiful. More the mountain born. Ganapati, and then it says Ganapatim Siddhi Pradam Kamadam. He is the grantor, the Pradam, the giver, Prada, like Jaya Prada, the giver of victory, the giver of Siddhi, perfection. That could be spiritual, like attainments, yogic attainments, like psychic powers and the like. Oxygen underneath it to get it going. Everything okay in there? Mm-hmm. Okay. Right, the grim. So it could be that, but here obviously it means spiritual. It means perfection, right? Siddhi. The word sadhana comes from the same thing. Siddha means to attain something. That which you do to get an attainment is called sadhana, right? And so you can do, if you want psychic power, you can do practices to get psychic powers, right? That's a sadhana for that. But the real perfection, the real attainment, if you want spiritual perfection, right? He's the one who is the giver of that, right? Who grants the fruits, the giver of the thing we're doing sadhana for, he's the giver of the result, right? And kamadam, he's the grantor of all, kamada, he's the giver of all desires, or the grantor of all desires. Now, of course, not all desires. This is a spiritual mantra and then in the middle of a puja, so it's the grantor of what we, if what we want is siddhi, if we want perfection, if we want spiritual attainment, he fulfills that desire. So another way to say that he's the one who fulfills our desire to attain attainment, like that. It's a very beautiful mantra, right? And then offering the 5 items. Ganda pushpe om gam Ganeshaya namaha. There's different mantras for Ganesha. The simple one we're using is Om Gam Ganeshaya. There's Ganapataye Namaha. There's all these other mantras. But we're just using the one Om Gam Ganeshaya Namaha. Idam Sat Chandana Pushpam. We worship with a flower dipped with sandalwood paste. Idam Sat Chandana Bibla Patram. Sometimes we worship also with Bibla leaves, the Shivite, the leaf that's taken to Shiva. As Shiva, because Ganesha is in the Shiva family, he's offered that. But actually, his main leaf is Durva. We don't pick right now, but there's like I don't know what type of grass that we'd call that. Not crabgrass, but it's.
Bermuda?
Is it that what it's called? What is it?
Bermuda grass?
Maybe that sounds like it probably right. And it has, but the tip of it has 3, and so you offer specifically with the 3, right? And there's this like. The Ida Pingala is given symbolism: the 3 eyes, the 3 states, the 3 parts of Om, the 3 Ida Pingala Shishumna, the Trisho, all the fact that it's a trifoliate leaf or whatever they call that, right, is significant. That's and that's a favorite for Ganesha. That puja, that grass is necessary for Ganesha. There's a
There's 21. Usually they pick 21.
there. 21 is there's different numbers associated with each deity, like 11 for Shiva and 9 for Durga. 21 is associated with Ganesha. I don't exactly know, to be honest with you. I know the number 21 is. Are we syncing? Are you okay? You okay? Okay. I just looked. We put it near the quicksand. We put you on unstable ground there. Sorry. Often the number 21 is used. It's often used like for generations, so it may have something to do. I don't know. I just know that the significance of that number in Hinduism is like things are done. Like if you attain enlightenment or liberation, 21 generations are liberated in your family. Things like that. That the common. So I don't know. It's like 64 and 108. These auspicious numbers. The exact reason I don't know, but I know 21 is associated with them. But like that 21 for generations, example, what that means, 10 generations past, 10 generations in the future, and you, 21, right? So your 10 generations ancestors, your descendants, your next gen, if you have descendants, and you. So that's where that 21 said. But I don't know exactly why that is. But this leaf is important for Ganesha. And then incense, Eshadupa, Eshadeepa, light, Naivedyam, like food and water, traditional 5 item or 10 item or 16 item or 64 items, whatever the puja is being done. But this 5 item is common. And then the pranam mantras. The pranam mantra is also very nice. 2 of them everybody knows, or a lot of people know. The first one that we use, it's used in these puja books. It's not. It hasn't. Not part of like pop Hindu culture, where it's not the beginning of like bhajan CDs like the other ones are. Om Devendra Mauli Mandara. Makkarana Karuna. It's a sophisticated mantra. Vignam Harantu He Ramba Charada Puja Renavaha. Vignam Harantu He Ramba. May obstacles, of course, he's the one that's going to remove obstacles as we begin the puja. And we mentioned before that the real obstacle is the senses are the obstacle. We go beyond the senses so we can enter and awaken the Devi who sits in the Muladhara, where Ganeshas actually exist. But may obstacles be destroyed, like the Slapman was from the swain with rut, intoxicated, like that. It uses a similar alliteration and building. From the dust of your lotus feet, right? So what is your obstacles may obstacles be destroyed by the dust of your lotus feet, right? So the very dust of Ganesha's feet destroys obstacles. Those feet that are been made also, just like his temples are made beautiful by the blood, his feet are also beautiful, also with red. Red is a common thing, right? It's a very beautiful mantra, which are reddened by the pollen of the mandara flower. There's one auspicious flower whose pollen apparently, I don't know the mandara flower. I'm sure it's very beautiful and very auspicious. And that flower has a red pollen. So Ganesha's feet are smeared with red of the pollen from the flowers. Where do these flowers come from, right? You can say, oh, he must, like, we should offer. Nobody's offered him anywhere these flowers, right? Flowers on top of the head of the king of the gods, Indra. Right, so Indra is described in one mantra for Indra. He wears mandara flowers in his crown. And because Indra bows his head and touches his head to Ganesha's feet, the pollen from those flowers smear and redden Ganesha's feet. Like these things really are so beautiful. I mean, it's like the way these things are. You have to build so much to.
It could be a heavenly flower.
I'm sure it's Indra. If it's an Indra locust, I'm sure it's a heavenly flower. I don't think it's on that, or above your head. Actually, it's better. Right, so may obstacle be destroyed by the dust of your lotus feet, Lord Ganesha, which are reddened by the pollen from the mandara flowers on top of the head of the king of gods, Lord Indra, as he bows at your feet. Now, of course, it can also be read that this is in the competition of deities and their sex, right? Where Indra is the king of the gods, right? And in ancient Vedic times, Indra was the king of the gods. Nowadays he's made almost a comedic character, and we give him the symbolism. He's the ego and like that. But in ancient times, he was the main god, right? Now he's right. So like in the Lita Sahasranama, or in the Dhyan mantra for Lita, when while the supreme goddess sits on a throne made of Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and Isha, right, and Sadashiva, showing that she's opposite that. Whereas Indra is her spittoon. When she chews a betel nut, she spits it out in the spittoon, which is Indra. Now we could say I think it's very beautiful to show that she's the supreme power. Even the most powerful masculine deity in the universe serves to catch her spit, right? Her pawn leaf, right? But it could also be, you could see that could be on the struggle. If we give a little bit of historical analysis, dangerous carefully, right? That Devi where Devi is now shown to supplant the importance of Ganesha. So Ganesha here, could be taken that way. He supplants the importance of Indra, or just see Ganesha so wonderful, even Indra bows to him, right? And so if Ganesha, if we worship Ganesha, even the God who runs heaven, right? He itself is serving Ganesha. If Ganesha is on our side, nothing can hurt us. He will definitely clear the way. So it's very beautiful. It works on an extremely devotional, sectarian, historical. It's the mantra is significant in every way. The other two mantras are more common. Ekkananta mahakayam lambodanam gajananam vignam nashakkaram devam herambam pranamamyaham. You are with one tusk, a huge body, big stomach, and elephant's head. These are her classic iconographic distinct characters. And the destroyer of obstacles and the beloved of actually Hera Ambam Paranamamya and the Daima and the please come and the beloved of Amba, of the mother, right? So I remember when I'm in Allahabad, there's a Maharashtrian Pandit. He's a wonderful character, our Maharashtrian Brahmin in Allahabad. And he has he's a difficult person, right? And wonderfully so. And his great good quality that he loved our Guru, and our Guru loved him, right? And so because of that, everybody, no matter how outrageous he gets, it's almost charming, Other people, you throw him from your heart forever, but because he's so wonderful that even his goal. But I remember one time he came into my kutir in Allahabad, in our room, and he saw my shrine, and my Shiva lingam with the Sri Chakra carved in it. And he goes, and immediately, spontaneously starts reciting prayers from the Dhyan mantra from the Lita Sahasranama, right? Beautiful, with tears. I mean, he's a great devotee of the Devi. He has a lot of great qualities, right? And he goes, and then he was looking, what else? And he saw Ganesha's, my little crystal Ganesha. He said, that's the way, right? If you just pray to Divine Mother, will she answer, will she not answer? Who knows? She's a goddess. Countless trillions of the universes. Who are we? Right? You're thinking about we become overwhelmed, but she's thinking of us. She doesn't become overwhelmed, right? He started crying thinking of the Divine Mother, but he's just this little. We're just little. Who knows? I can't even say what we are. Whether we get her attention, who knows, right? But we do know one out of all her billions and billions of children. We know one for sure she loves, and that's Ganesha, right? And so she sees if we're worshiping Ganesha, right, then she'll give whatever we want. This is a sure way to get Devi's attention. You worship her son, even he may not give you attention, but if she sees you worshiping Ganesha, she'll give. So you are beloved of Amba, of the mother. To you we bow. Vakratunda Mahakaya, Koti Surya Samaprabha. O you with a twisted trunk and a huge body, who shines like a million Koti Surya Samaprabha, like millions of suns, right? He shines like millions of suns. May all nirvignam, without any obstacles, right? Remove all obstacles, or let there be no obstacles. Kurame Deva, O God. Sarva Karyeshu Sarvada. May all of our work, Sarva Karyeshu Sarvada, may all of our work all the time be always free of obstacles. Right? So these mantras you hear at the beginning of songs, and often people Vakratunda Mahaka, you hear, any recording, YouTube recording, these mantras will be there. The first one is less known. It's only in the puja books as far as I've seen. I've never heard them outside that. What time is it now? 22. Okay, we'll just so that's we talked about the 5 devotees, and then Ganesha, this beautiful Dhyan mantra, the 5 item, and then the pranam mantra. We can do Surya. We can do that in 2-3 minutes actually. So that's in the Panchadev. We can just go through the Surya mantra also. So now for the sun, it can just be done simply with a Dhyan mantra, with a Gayatri mantra, or his own Gayatri mantra. But there's a beautiful meditation verse. Raktam bujasane mashe sagunaika sindhum. Right, you are seated. Akti, it says, what's the flower? Raktam. Raktam bu asane mashe. He sits on a red flower. He sits actually. Of course, we see the sun. You can imagine if there's a personality in the sun, he's sitting on the sun, the flower, this blooming flower, and it's a red, this aruna color, this red color. So he's actually seen as we meditate upon him as sitting on the hibiscus flower, which is also interesting, actually. So actually, in especially in Bengal, where Kali worship is predominant, right? The hibiscus flower is used exclusively for Kali, right? You don't worship Durga with hibiscus, with red hibiscus especially, right? So we have so many different colors of hibiscus. The red ones are only offered to Kali. The pink ones we offer to others, But actually, you can worship Ganesha with hibiscus only because he loves red. Red is also a color for Ganesha, but also because he's a son of Devi. Anything for his mother, you can give the son, right? So he's allowed to be worshipped with in Bengal. In South India, you go and the hibiscus are they don't follow that rule. You see Shiva temple or other they put at the Ramakrishna mission in Chennai, Swami Bhajananda's picture, there's hibiscus. But in Calcutta, you would never say hibiscus, red hibiscus. They have their own conception of colors and like that. So you can worship Kali, Ganesha, and Surya, also with red hibiscus. Red is his color, and so when we do arghya, when we're holding to worship, to offer water to the sun, ideally you have some red flower petals, or reddish. Red is that color. The metal is copper or gold, and the color is red, right? So he sits on, which of course is the color of the sun. He sits on sitting on a red lotus, the embodiment of all pure qualities. Sagunaika sundun. You are the light of the entire universe. So it's interesting because the sun is the light of our solar system, not the light of the universe. Right? The universe is made of many solar systems, many of which with much bigger suns. Right? So it's not just these hints are showing it's not just the giant exploding ball of whatever, you probably know more about whatever ingredients are hydrogen, and it's not just that, right? It's that, right? So Swami Chidananda Saraswati, the great disciple of Swami Shivananda, very often he'd always say that the sun represents the light of light beyond all darkness, the self, right? Really, the self, which is consciousness itself, the light of lights. Because we see light, not by the light, but consciousness sees light. We see each other due to light, but we see light because of consciousness. Without consciousness, there could be a light bulb and we wouldn't see any of you, right? So the light of lights, the beyond all darkness, right? That's the great symbol of that. Fire can be a symbol of it, but the great fire is a great symbol of it. So when we chant the Gayatri and we worship the sun, it's the light that illuminates everything, not just our galaxy. For us, it's a giant ball of fire that's radiating light and heat and is allowing life on this planet to be relatively okay, more or less. A little bit this way or that way, it goes bad, as we know, a little bit. But so it's a light. So it's who lights the entire universe. Samaasta jagatatma deepam bhajami. Jagatama deepam bhajami. You are the light of the entire universe. We worship you. Then it described a little bit his iconography. Your two hands hold lotuses, and your lower hands show the gestures of granting fearlessness and boons, right? Classic pose, right? And your powerful face is of rosy hue, and has 3 eyes. This is common. Then, so that's the Dhyan mantra, holding in the Kumar mudra, meditate in the heart. That flower is offered, and then the 5 items are worshipped. And he's not offered leaves generally, like we worship with perfume, flower, incense, light, and food. In the puja, he's not offered but it's tricky because in certain traditions, he's considered an incarnation of Shiva. The planets are forms of Shiva. In other traditions, it's considered incarnation of Vishnu, right? So when leaves are offered, you can offer him both Bivla leaves. In Navagraha Puja, you can offer him Bivla leaves and Tulsi leaves. And when you're doing Aragya, some people put Tulsi leaves on there. But I don't never offer Tulsi leaves. Other pundits told me, always offer Tulsi leaves. Right? So in the puja, we don't list leaves. We leave out leaves. Leaves are important, actually. It's interesting because they have sectarian meaning also. Like Tulsi can only be offered to Vishnu, never to Shiva, and Bivla can never be offered to Shiva, always to Vishnu. Right? Of course, we know Vishnu and Shiva are not different, and distinctions are. But there is a bhava, and we respect those traditions. So. Like when Holy Mother, I may have mentioned this before, Holy Mother would be worshipped on her birthday. People come and offer flowers, and people would bring, Mom, may I do puja? She goes, yes, you can do it. And they'd open the basket that they went to the store and a flower market, and they offer roses and lotuses, and then they go to grab like tulsis and bibla leaves. No leaves. Don't offer leaves. She wouldn't let people worship her with leaves, right? Maybe we can only imagine why, because we also believe she's Sarvadeva Devi Surupaya. She's all gods, all goddesses, including Vishnu, including Shiva, including Kali, these different leaves, but out of her. But then Swami Bhajanananda mentioned that in her universal form, we can offer her Tulsi leaves and Bibla leaves. So Kali Mandir, we offer her Tulsi leaves and Bibla leaves. Right, and then the Pranam Mantra. Jaba Kushumna Shankarasham Kasya Payam Maha Dyutim Dvantarim Sarvapapagnam Pratosmi Pranatosmi Divakaram. We bow to the Maker, the beautiful, the Maker of the day. Like the sun makes the day. Right? The first line is the most obvious experience of the sun, the one who makes the day. Right? Our day is associated with its rising and falling. Maker of the day, shining brilliantly, seated on a hibiscus flower. Again here, the great luminary, descendant of Kashyapa Muni. Kashyapa is the father of many of the gods, right? The enemy of darkness and the destroyer of sins. So it's not just, now of course the sun comes up, darkness goes away, right? That's one meaning, right? Also, the sun comes up and sins go away. When the sun goes down, all of our bad behavior starts. In the light of day, most people behave themselves, right? Darkness is a. That's why you want to protect the place. It's like on the lot across on the thing. It's an empty lot. So pretty soon it's an empty lot. You hear people, and the people pull over there, and they're taking heroin, and it's a dark, empty place, right? But that happens 2-3 times, right? And so the owners put a light there, and now it doesn't happen anymore, right? So that's where the sun is, darkness goes and sin goes. Of course, there's sins we do in broad daylight. That's a different, right? But obviously it has a deeper meaning. The light of light beyond our dark. You are the one who gives light. You are God who gives illumination, right? And that illumination destroys all darkness. It destroys all sin. Destroys everything. And the final two. That's a famous mantra. It's part of a hymn that's described that worships each of the dash of the Navagraha, all the 9 planets, has their own pranam mantra. This is in that hymn. This is a very popular one. The others are less, just a glorification. Nama Savitre Jagareka Chakshise. We bow to Savitri, an ancient name for the sun, Savita, the eye of the world. I also like that name. The eye of the world, and the cause of birth, sustenance, and death in the world. He's the giver of time and everything. So is it the cause of birth, death, and birth, life, and death, right? Which is also saying that he's worshipped as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, right? By saying that, right? So each deity, whenever they're worshipped as everything. That's another important point. Traye Mayaya Trigadatmikarane Pirinchi Narayana Shankaratmane. Here it is. The essence of the three. Here the three could be the 3 Vedas. The essence of the 3 Vedas, or the 3 periods of time, the 3 fires, sunlight and sun, moon, and fire, could be the 3 gods, right? Really, it's understood as the essence of the 3 Vedas, the three gunas, Tigunatmakarane. You are the essence of the 3 Vedas, the 3 gunas, right? And Virinchi, Narayana, Shankaratmane. And the essence of Virinchi means Brahma, Narayana, and Shankara. Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Right? So it's like, so you say, so the sun is Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Right? The sun is Brahman. Ganesha is Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Ganesha is Brahman. Right? Guru is Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Guru Brahma, you don't believe me? Let's all say it together. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Deva Para Brahman. Guru is Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and Param Brahman. Ganesha is also worshipped with Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and Param Brahman. Here Surya is worshipped Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and Param Brahman. Devi, Stristi Siti Vinashanam Shakti Bhute Sanatani. The one who creates, sustains, destroys. And Sanatani, the eternal one. So Devi is being worshipped as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, and the eternal, unchanging Brahman, right? So that comes to our original point of the Panchadevata, right? Is that they're being worshipped specifically, but they're being seen also as everything, as the essence of everything, the source of everything, the embodiment of all these things. So we'll end there. So next week, God willing, we'll finish up the section which is Narayana Puja, worship of Vishnu, Shiva Puja, and Devi Durga Puja, and then the other, we call it Devata Puja, just other lists, the great list, because you realize one time there's I think through Hinduism Today or something, I saw something about what it means to be what is Hinduism, like is it a foundational definition? It's very difficult to make, right? And the Supreme Court of India came up with a few different ones that were being argued, right? One of which was that the deities to worship are many. that was one of the. Not only that, it's pantheistic, because it's not exactly that, but it says that one list. I don't know if it made it into the final definition, right? But that had to do with sectarian marks. I mean, different characteristics that classical Hinduism and modern Hinduism has, and one of which was that the deities to worship are many, even if you only worship one deity. The deities to worship are many. So, and so we some people want to simplify. No, they're just one. We find that slightly boring. So, because the one has become everything, right? And so we can God has become everything. So now we have already a weird impersonal conception of the absolute, and then we extend that to seem something really sublime. He's become everything. And so it's almost more abstract, right? You have now God's everything, but that means that materialism, that's just regular worldly life. God's everything is divine, but we don't see it. But of course, if we had the eyes to see, who knows what we'd see? But we can begin to see everything. How do you start seeing things as God? Is this fire or is this Agni? That's Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahman, right? That's the question, right? So you enter the courtyard. There's a little throne out of clay, and there's a tulsi plant there. It's a basil plant, right? So is it a basil plant, or is it goddess Tulsi Devi, Vrinda Devi? And there's mantras. I recently translated them. There's a beautiful hymn that describes Tulsi Devi. Here, I'm going to give you a hint. As Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahman. Right? It's like, so, but how do you do that? Gods become everything. You just walk by. No. Therefore, people, you'll see, they chant mantras to her, they walk around her, they give her water. Each form has a way, has a personality. Right? And so that the one becoming many, once that one has become many, is named, is described, is interacted with in many, many different ways, right? It's become personal and direct, right? And we can interact with the one that's become many, right? And so the idea of the many gods, or the many manifestations of the divine, is it's not just, it's beyond, it's pluralism for sure, right? But with every addition, you expand the way you can see, the way you can interact, relationship you can have with the divine, right? Without ever losing. We're taught, of course, there are some traditions, an ancient tradition may have been like this. It's like Agni and Indra and Surya and Vishnu are not the same, right? But here we talked about the Smarta background, Vedantic background of the Pancāyatana Pūjā, right? In ancient Hinduism and the form of ancient Hinduism that survived into the modern world, and that is surviving into the interreligious, multicultural world, perennial philosophy type of world that's kind of that they're all different and they're all the same. They're all distinct and different, and they're all God, the absolute God. That's the amazing thing, Truth is one. Sages describe, I can't just say describe it, now worship and interchange, or they reveal themselves differently to different people. So we're the inheritors of a very grand tradition, not only of these ancient manifestations, revelations of the deities, of the gods, or of God, right? But even now in the modern world, with Ramakrishna and Vivekananda, we have the teachings of Buddha, we have the teachings of Christ, we have the teachings of the mystics. We have, it's like these are also now become, in a certain sense, we have to be careful, respectfully, not to overstep our relation. But this is also, we can other ways to expand our ways of interacting with God and seeing God. Anyways, we're late, as I always do. Thank you for your kind attention. It's nice to be out here by the fire again. Guru Maharaj. Duni.
Duni wisdom.
Duni wisdom. Hari Om Tat Sat.